We're almost on the weekend, and so I'd like to wish you all a good afternoon and to welcome you to the winter. That's the winter version. Yeah, the winter forum of the European Irrigation Association, and I'm very happy to see you. And we let everyone get join us in their own time. For those of you, if there are any that it's the first time for them, so again, I introduce myself. My name is Moshe Bernstein. I'm the president of the association. I work and live, well, I live and work in France, and I'm the managing director of the irrigation company in in France. So welcome everyone, and let's start. You're going to move the slides, please, Fleur.
Yes.
Thank you. So as always, so we have some housekeeping rules that we like to keep, starting with letting everyone know that this is being recorded. Yeah, I see it's being recorded. So we're recording the event. If you don't want to be seen, please turn off your camera and don't display your name. If you don't mind being seen, and please reveal your name properly so we know who is on the call on this forum. Please mute your microphone while you're not participating. We urge you to participate, and when we open the microphone or with questions during the sessions. And you can also use the chat. We're trying to manage the chat in between in a continuous way, so you can use the chat to ask questions and comment and so on. I do dare every time to ask you to open your cameras. We just like it better, but we cannot force you to do it. But if you feel comfortable, please open the camera. And part of what we do is just to get to know each other here. So that's nice. Next, please, Fleur. I think this will be the code of conduct, right?
Yes.
Yeah. For the avoidance of any misbehavior, we do have a free competition environment. We adopt a very strict code of conduct. All the interaction that we're doing, whether it's the board or the working group meetings or the forums and so on and so forth, simply saying we don't talk about commercial matters. We don't talk about prices, about financial results, about confidential information that you don't know. We don't ban anyone. We don't talk about customers. We try to purify everything we do here to promote together the sustainable irrigation in Europe, not less, not more than this. Next, please. That's the menu, I think, today. Yes. So the agenda that we have here. We start, as always, with an introduction. I will be honored to share with you some of the ongoing matters in the association. Actually, there are many. I will try to be very, very brief. It's not going to be more than 10-15 minutes because we have a full agenda today. Then we're going to ask Fleur to introduce us the new members, and we'll let the new members. I think that we have 8 new members today, so good luck with trying to meet the timeline, Fleur. We have 8 new members who joined the association since the last time we spoke. So each one of them we have the time, 1 minute, 2 minute max to present what they do, who they are, and so on. So we'll get to know them a little bit for the beginning. Then we move to the main speaker, the first main speaker of today, which will be a little different than what we usually talk. We're going to talk about pumping. You already saw that we have a pumping slide at the beginning, or if you didn't get it, it's the pumping is behind. But I think that today we're gonna hear from Robert. What does it mean sustainable pumping, and why the irrigation sector needs to consider this aspect, I would say, of energy and water saving as an important aspect of what we do, and it is part of the sustainable irrigation. So we give the floor to Robert soon, and you'll be able to ask many questions now or later on. You're going to have the details of Robert. He's quite passionate about what he's doing, as we all here. And then we're going to have a session which is this part of giving the floor to members who introduce models, innovation, technologies, new ways to go to market, new thinking, and so on around the irrigation. Today we have the honor to have Jonathan from Rivulis. I think that Jonathan is the head of the transformation in Rivulis, if I'm not mistaken. Last time I've checked. But Jonathan will take us through the carbon credit and how to make the carbon credit reality for the farmers, and what is the impact of irrigation technologies and the practices we're using on the carbon sequestration or carbon credit in this evolving topic of sustainability. I'm really looking forward to hear about this because I think that this is a great opportunity for the irrigation sector to hear and to learn more and to see how we can get involved in this very important activity that is going on mainly in Europe, I would say, not only, but we're leading this in Europe. And this will take us to the open session at the end. Hopefully we have time to exchange and to open the microphone. Good. So what's next? I think this is the introduction, right?
Yes.
All right, goody. So a few minutes about what we're doing in the association. I try to do it interesting. I try to do it quite fast as well. So I think that the most important part that I've chosen to sharing with you is about a roadmap. Because I think that this was most of the work that was done by the board. Several working sessions that we spent at the end of 24 was to try to assess the evolution of the association and try to decide what's next. So where are we going from now? I think it's not a secret, and some of you know that there is a good momentum of the association. There is we're going through a period of rapid growth in all kind of parameters. And we'd like to keep it this way. And we'd like to keep on growing the association. We see the results of the work of the working groups. We have 6 working groups, if you remember. We structure a very fruitful discussion. Mainly, I would say I would mention the sustainable irrigation working group. We have a discussion, a dialogue that started with the EU officials. It never happened before. I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and it grabbed a lot of attention from various stakeholders. Now, it's not only because we're pushing and we see the rapid growth, because I would say the market is that we have favorable condition today to promote and to realize the potential of what we're doing. This adaptation and mitigation of climate disruptions in Europe, we are part of it, and the demand is there. And we're making a lot of effort to trying to adapt what we can propose as a sector to the EU Commission, to the market, to many of the stakeholders that we see today. So I'm very happy to report that the board decided to continue investing and affirming our position, the position of the EIA as the sector's representative of Europe in Europe. We set our goals, 3 goals here, very high level, but you can understand that what we would like to do is we aim to continue paving the way for the sector to be recognized. We're here to continue adding value to the businesses of the members, to promote what you're doing and what we're doing all together, the different solutions. And we would like to continue proposing a platform to discuss irrigation among ourselves, first of all, and then with the European institution as well. So these are the things that we're focusing on. We've decided to focus on 5 development axes or pillars, as we call it. Sustainable irrigation is the first one, with the access to funds, focus on taxonomy, which most of you know already. The advocacy, create a place to advocate for wise use of water in agriculture and gardening, in sports and in the landscape area. We're aiming to enlarge the network, of partnerships that we're having with stakeholders, not only within ourselves, the irrigation sector, but with the market creators, with the food chain, with urban municipalities, planners, and so institutions and so on. We like to move promote the professional level of the sector by training directly and indirectly, and we'd like to continue promoting the awareness and also our members' solutions with a very strict creation with a plan on communication and marketing and promotion that we're having today. And next, please. I think that's it. Yeah. If you can move to the next one, that's from now on the photos. I think that this is that's a very good example of what we're saying when we're talking about sustainability, talking about advocacy. This roundtable took place 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, with the organization of this table with different actors, decision makers in Brussels, discussing for the first time, I believe, irrigation in a formal way. This was very important for us to promote as part of what we're doing with the positioning paper on sustainable irrigation. And that's the moment, because now we have the Water Resilience Commissioner in Europe, part of the new EU Commission, and this will make things move faster. Well, in European terms, you can understand, but move faster than before. So we need to be there. And if we talk about being the voice of the irrigation and we want to promote the place of smart use of water, sustainable use of water, that's what we need to do. So that was the first event. Took place in January, the end of January. It was a very good event, although we had some technical problems. And if some of you were participated online, you may encounter some audio, maybe video audio problems, but we treat it in a natural way. I think that these are only the growing pain of becoming bigger and bigger, like becoming more serious association. But overall, we are very happy with the impact, with the feedback, with the results, and we try to do it much more if time and money will allow us doing it. Next, please. So in 25, we started working in a little different model. You got the members of who were participating here already got this communication. So we changed the model of the organization a little bit. We don't forget why we're here, and this is very important for me to emphasize this point. The diversity is our strength. The fact that we have agriculture, landscape, small, medium, big companies, the fact that we have academic institutions with us, we have dealership, we have designers, we have passionate individuals with us. This diversity brings us the value, because we can share ideas, we can have a lot of, we can exchange thoughts, and we can exchange ideas among ourselves to make it much better. We do understand why, the why. So meaning that we would like to call and everyone to continue working with us and to continue contributing the engagement more and more. But we felt that we need to give some place to people who are not necessarily here to invest their time and engagement. So we have two types of I'm having a echo, but that's fine. We have two types of membership models today. We have the classic one and the premium one. And it's not about the size of the company. It's not about what, it's about the willingness to engage, to be engaged, to participate, to be recognized for this, of course, more and more, because this is really what we need to do. We don't just provide services, we accumulate a lot of competencies and services. So this is for this year, what we're doing, and we're taking it, as you can see, there is a list here. I'm not gonna go over this, but if you would like to have your place here, you can move more and more into the creation of value for your brand, for the association. You can bring topics to the table. You can influence the subject discussed. You can also have get your place on the table in all kind of events. So we really hope that this will open an opportunity for people to participate more and more if they like. Next, please. I think that I won't really get into the full list here, but what I wanted to say here is that the more we grow, the more we give, I would say. And what is it that we want to give more value to the members? And how we give more value to the members? There is a full list. There are many opportunities. We need to be patient and humble, because we are now constructing the association from being based on voluntary efforts, on goodwill and excellent people, professional people, to take this to the next level and to be even more professional and more structured and to provide more and more value to the members. So we need to do it step by step, moving from a small scale to a bigger scale. This is exactly what we're trying to do today. And the value comes in parallel to what we're doing. Next, please. I think that's the last one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, just to tell you what we're gonna do now, like now, I mean, for the plan of 25. So the roundtable, we already did it. That was excellent, according to our view, and some others. We are in the process of renewal of the membership. I do believe that we will lose some of the members, because the fees for some of the members became higher than last year, because we need, again, to invest more, and we're counting on the fact that the value will come with the fees, and the fees will support the value, and so on and so forth. Part of what we're already doing, and hopefully we're gonna conclude this the next few days, is to have a dedicated person that will work hand in hand with what we're doing today with Fleur and myself, to promote the communication, the membership relationship part, the brands promoting, content creation, and so on and so forth. That's going to be part-time job that I do believe that we're going to sign this in the beginning of next week, and then we're going to start seeing more and more value. We're going to have on the table, we have intelligent market intelligent report waiting for us. Once we reach a certain income, like budget, that we can afford this, we know how to do it already. We have the candidate, we have the professional help. We just need to make sure that we can secure some budget for this. I think this was a request from many members to bring more info on the market trends, market situation, positioning, and so on and so forth. So we are all into it. We just want to confirm that the membership renewal process will be finalized. We have enough funds to take this to the next level, and so that's going to be our next. That's in the pipeline. For sure, it's going to be next. Well, it's going to be this year. Not for sure if we get to the same to the revenue that we're expecting, and we're very close. I think that we're very, very close to what we need to do it. The magazine of EIA Gazette, led by Fleur, will relaunch its effort on the online, based on online magazine. This will be the voice of the association, content creation, creating the platform for articles on many subjects, and we're really looking forward to push this forward. And Fleur already started working on this one, and we're going to take this forward. Already, it's on its way right now. And if we will be able to afford this, next thing is another roundtable. Maybe this time we'll be focused on the urban aspects more, because we're presenting all the markets, but we would like to push this forward and to have more and more engagement with the commission. I think this is my part, if I'm not mistaken. So good. So these are the activities. I try to do it as fast as I can. Okay, 20 minutes exact. So let's move forward. I give the floor to you now.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Moshe. So we will move to the next part of this forum, which is the welcome to the new members. We are very proud to count 82 members today, and since our latest forum end of September, we welcome 8 new members. They will now have the opportunity to introduce themselves for 1 or 2 minutes. Maybe some of you prepared a few slides, so when you want me to change the slide, please ask me next. So the first new member is the French company Winat, and we will ask Jérôme Leroy if he's here to say a few words about Winat and himself.
Thank you, Moshi. Thank you, Fleur. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
this is.
Jérôme.
Thank you. Hello, Moshi. So it will be then the only the last time I talk about my product, if I well hear the rules here, because we are here for because we are more and more involved in irrigation, and we really want to be part of this market and understand better the trends, and I really appreciate also what you have done last week with European Commission. So Winat is a 10-year-old company based in France. We started 10 years ago to develop sensors to put in north of France agricultural ground for potato growers mainly. Maybe you can go to the next slide, Fleur. And now we have deployed more than 25,000 sensors, out of which half of that are soil sensors in 15 countries, and with offices and branches in France, Spain, Germany, and soon Italy, Portugal. But we also have offices in and a distributor in Argentina. We are working with more than 200 distributors all over those 15 countries. And maybe for the next slide, you will see what we are developing. So all those sensors are produced in our factory in France. And all the data from those sensors are helping farmers mainly to manage their water strategy, whether it is fruit grower, potato grower, vignettes as well, vegetable under tunnel or greenhouses. These are the kind of customer that we have. And we have a web application which is used by more than 35,000 users in 9 languages. Maybe the next slide, I will let you know quickly what we do more than the sensor and the app. We have all those sensors in an app, and we help also communities, cooperatives, or corporates to have a kilometer square accuracy data at a square kilometer level for farmer who doesn't have a sensor. And how does it looks like? Maybe you can go to the next slide, Fleur. We'll try to respect the 2 minutes. And with satellites, meteo, sensors, and all our agronomic and data team, we are able to provide over 40 parameters at a square kilometer all over Europe. We are able to provide 150 agronomic indicators. And for irrigation, we are able to provide at a square kilometer a soil water content in real time. So we are doing more than 2,000 soil analysis per year on all area where we have experimental farm. And if you go to the next slide, Fleur. Oh no, this is the last slide I have.
The next new one.
So that's perfect. That's perfect. Let's
Okay.
let's finish with this last slide, just to tell you that more than a sensor company, we are trying to help not only farmer but also corporates to manage their irrigation better. Thank you for your welcome, and I hope that Winat can contribute to this great future of sustainable irrigation.
Thank you, Jérôme, and welcome again in the association. The next new member is the company Bermad Europe, and I will ask Luis Zellman to say a few words about his company.
Thank you, Fleur, Moshi. Good day to everyone. So I'm Luis Zellman, the Managing Director of Bermad Europe. We are part of Bermad Group, Bermad Control System. We are enjoying this year the 60th anniversary worldwide, and we are in Europe more than 20 years. Before this, we were in Italy, and from the last 15 years, our center is in Barcelona. So as you see, this is the team of the company. Next. So we are one of the 14 regional business companies of Vermaat. We cover worldwide all the continents, and this is the study we did why we are in Barcelona, out of Football Club Barcelona. That is our main challenge. But this is a good corridor to be in contact from, maritime containers and by sea, and by land to all Europe. This is why we choose the place of Barcelona. Next, please. We call Vermaat Europe our 4 companies that we have in Europe. We have a company in Italy and in France, in Spain. I think Benjamin Molinier is joining us today. He's the country manager of France, and in UK. UK today is not exactly Europe, but we continue as a one unit, and we manage all this, all the administrative from Barcelona team. Please, next. Okay, Vermaat is active in 3 main businesses. The main one is the irrigation, of course. After that, the waterworks, what we call the blue line for the adduction de l'eau. And the 4th segment that is combined fire protection, and also buildings, mainly high-rise buildings. So we have different teams in different countries, distributors, and in fire protection we work mainly with oil and gas, offshore and onshore projects. Next, please.
No, it's not.
So
it is the last one.
go back, please, one. So as you can see, there are new members in our family. 3 years ago, we acquired Euromag, that is a magnetic meters in Padova, in Italy. So now it's Vermaat company. And we have all new products coming from this company in polymers. We are moving more and more to polymers. And the main target of the company is the digital transformation, not only inside, more in products that are connected. We have our own cloud, and we work with water companies as well as irrigation consortiums in Europe, mainly in Spain, Italy, and in France. So thank you. This is all.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Next one is the company Irimec, and Jacopo Fratus will say a few words about Irimec. Are you here,
Yes.
Jacopo? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thanks for this opportunity to join the association. We met during last EIMA with your presentation, and the process of registration has been quite fast, so thank you for letting us join the association. We are Irimec. We are a manufacturer of irrigation machines, in particular hose reel machines and diesel motor pumps. We are located in Italy, not far from Milan, 60 kilometers from Milan. And we have a 50 years experience in this sector, since the company has been, let's say, founded in 1974 by my grandfather, and now we are at the 3rd generation in Irimec. Since 2023, we have joined the Farm Front Group, that is let's say a new group created by an initiative of Carlyle Investment Fund, an American fund that has decided to invest in at the moment in 4 irrigation companies: Irimec, RKD, Ocmis, and Dotec. And so together we represent let's say the mechanized irrigation with pivots, with the hose reels and motor pumps. And so I hope that with our participation to the association, we can bring our experience, and also on some specific points related especially to our type of irrigation and all the accessories that we commercialize and produce. Thanks.
Thanks, Jacopo.
Thank you, Jacopo.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So this is the next new member is a company Max Rain in Spain, but Leonardo Rodriguez told me that he has a last minute meeting and he can't attend the forum. So I will go fast. I just will say a few words about Max Rain. It is a leading distributor in landscape professional irrigation in Spain and Portugal. The company has a complete catalog in which are present the most important brands in the market. The most important landscape brands are the Rainbird, Karen. Okay, so we will move to the next new member, which is Nelson NIC. Stan Handley, he's in the US. So I think you are here, Stan?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good morning.
Thank you, Stan.
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm on the west coast of the U.S., so it's early.
Yeah.
But,
Sorry for
thanks.
that.
Good night.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Fleur. So I'm Stan Henley. I'm Vice President of Sales for Nelson in the area of Europe, Eurasia, Middle East, Africa, supporting a team of folks based largely in those areas. Nelson itself has been manufacturing in Walla Walla, Washington, where I am now since 1973. Nelson is a bit unique in that we make products for almost every kind of irrigation, mechanized, pivot, hose reel, open field, orchard, nursery, greenhouse, as well as control valves, high volume cannons for industrial applications. I think next slide, Fleur.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're in a lot of different markets in the US and globally. And just a couple things about Nelson. It's a family-owned company. Fifth generation now is in the company. And they've been making engineering, if you will, irrigation products for 114 years as a family. So it's in their DNA, you could say. Anyway, happy to be here. Europe's a significant area for Nelson. And yeah, thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Stan.
Stan. And thank you for being with us
Thanks.
so early in the morning. Okay, so the next new member is OTEC, Ivan Mirabal. Are you here?
Yep, I'm here. Hi,
Okay.
Fleur. Hi,
Good.
Moshi. Thanks
Hi.
very much for the
Hi.
quick presentation because I totally missed to send you something. So
I
we
prepared
are
something very short.
yes,
but
thank you. So as Jacopo, we are part of the same group today. So we are part of the EIA group and also on a farm front group that has been created a couple of years ago. So I'm the general manager of the company here. So OTEC is a French center pivot manufacturer. So we are manufacturing center pivots and also laterals, also all remote control system, which is a big part of the irrigation improvement for center pivots. Not a lot to say on the center pivot and sprinklers that not making a lot of water savings. So maybe monitoring will be what make the difference on the irrigation savings. So we are based in France, Southwest, since 1982, so a pretty young company. And happy to work everywhere in the world through a dealer network, very strong in Europe, and looking for opportunities everywhere in the other countries. So to be quick and fast as a minute.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
As always, thanks, Ivan.
And
Good to have you back.
welcome. Okay, so now we will finish with Plastic Puglia. Emiliano Colucci, are you in the meeting? Not sure is. Okay, so I just will say a few words about Plastic Puglia. What I know about it is a drip manufacturer based in the south of Italy, in Puglia. And it is a family company, and the owner is Mr. Colucci, Mr. Emiliano Colucci. Okay, so I think this is the map of our members with their logos. And we wish to all of you a warm welcome, and I hope you will enjoy your membership this year. Okay, so I will stop my presentation, and I think we are very late in the timing, so I will ask our invited speaker, Robert Welkt, from Water Pumping Institute in Australia, to start his presentation. Yeah.
Just Fleur, this presentation, I'm sorry to help with managing the time. It's supposed to be a 30 minutes session.
Yes.
Session, so please note us a note 5 minutes before, right? So the Robert will be able to wrap up the things. I appreciate it. Thank you. The floor is yours, Robert.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Firstly, I had the pleasure of visiting the Nelson factory in Walla Walla in Washington in 2017. So, fabulous family business. Yeah, good presentation there, Stan. My presentation today is kind of in alignment somewhat with what Moshi had to say, where we're talking about smart use of water. In the smart use of water, of course, we have to be smart in the use of electricity to supply that water, and that is just as crucial part of sustainability as looking after the water. So in talking about how we deliver water, there's always energy involved, and the main measure is to keep the energy requirements down as we keep the water delivery up. And so there's this fine line, and we consider the sustainability needs to be considered over a long term, say 25 years life cycle cost. This is not about a pump. This is not about the pump. This is about the hydraulics of the pump system. So I want to play this small video.
Selecting the most energy efficient pump is only the first step in maximising pumping system efficiency. But all pumps these days are very efficient. So what's the difference between pump efficiency and pumping system efficiency? The answer lies in the hydraulic efficiency of the whole pumping system. When designing for improved irrigation energy efficiency, especially for future farm upgrades, improving hydraulic efficiency alone could yield more than half of the total potential energy savings in an irrigation pumping system.
So when we consider sustainable pumping, we take a holistic view and look at every component in an irrigation system, not just the pump. So we look at, obviously the pump, but we look at the suction, the foot valves, the screen, pipework, discharge valves, filters, flow meters, and the pipework. Pipelines, that's the main one, and center pivots, so we have a close look at that, and emitters. Every single component has an input to sustainable pumping. And to do that, we use a range of software that we use, and most of it's phone app-based software to identify energy and emissions savings to come up with sustainable pumping. Let's look at the basis of this, the scientific basis. We talk about kilowatt hours per megalitre. That is the specific energy of a pumping system, and that's the formula that we use here. So if we analyse the components of specific energy, we're going to deal with the bottom line first, the pump efficiency, obviously, and we just spoke about that. Obviously, every pumps these days are so efficient. You really can't spend any more money and get a more efficient pump because they're just not available. So that's kind of, they've reached their optimum value. Motor efficiencies are the same, although they're creeping up. You know, the permanent magnet motors are offering a couple of percent advantage. So there's a little bit there. The drive efficiency, of course, that's pretty much fixed, is determined by what you drive your system, whether it's a variable frequency drive or a belt drive or a direct drive. The big variable is the total dynamic head in meters, and we're considering the elevation, the filter head loss, pipeline head loss, fittings head loss, and residual head. And we could put in there as well the emitter losses. And it doesn't matter what form of irrigation that you would consider, they all have the same requirements for sustainable pumping. So that is, it's the total dynamic head of the meters that's the driving influence for sustainable pumping. We'll look at the pipelines. The pipelines are kind of the focus because that's where the majority of the head loss occurs. So when we consider the pipeline, we consider a life cycle costing model. And here I've got a graph. On the bottom line, we've got pipe diameter. And up on the left, we've got amortized cost over a period of time. And this is 25 years. So if we look at the capital cost of a pipeline, of course, that rises in keeping with the diameter. And as the pipe rises, the water velocity reduces. So the electricity cost to supply the friction head for the flow in that pipeline reduces. And at any one point, if we add the electricity cost over 25 years to the capital cost of the pipe and add them together, we form a third graph here, which is the combination of the capital cost of pipe and the electricity cost. And the lowest point in that graph is the optimum diameter of the pipe. And we can do that with a phone app calculator that's been developed specifically for this purpose. We input all the parameters for the irrigation system required. We input all the pipe data, and it will read out to us the lowest capital plus energy cost for a range of pipes. And in this case here, it is 135,000. So that's equivalent to a 250 diameter pipe. So, and I'm going to demonstrate to you here a little. This is the graphical version of this, and it's quite an amazing bit of software that we can demonstrate. So, given a range of inputs for a particular irrigation, so there's 200 megaliters or 200,000 cubic meters an hour. A year, sorry, at 46 liters a second and 30 cents a kilowatt hour. This graph here represents the efficiency of the pipes of every diameter that we consider. So there's a range of pipes from 50 down to 450 millimeter diameter, and this graph represents the efficiency of all of those. So, and obviously this particular one, the highest efficiency is with a 200 diameter pipe, and notice that the water velocity is around 1.3 meters per second. Now, if we were to put, say, a 15 megaliter or 15,000 cubic meter and a 3.5 liter a second pump system in, we can see that the optimum diameter here is 65 millimeters and the water velocity is 1 meter per second. So straight away, there's something that really stands out here, and that's that the optimum water diameter for sustainable pumping is much less than the 1.5 meters per second used by the irrigation industry. And that's no surprise because the 1.5 meters used by the irrigation industry has been designed for water efficiency, never for energy efficiency. So nobody in the industry has yet determined what the parameters are for energy efficiency. And these are them. So this is a totally new paradigm that we need to consider, and as such, the water velocity is usually typically in the area of 0.8 to 1.3 meters per second. Now that has also an effect on the CUs and DUs across a range of irrigation outlets, which means that sustainable pumping also leads to sustainable irrigation, because we can improve the CUs and DUs, therefore reduce the quantity of water that is pumped. There's a second aspect of the sustainable pumping, and that's the deterioration of pipe performance. In time, all pipes reduce in performance, and it's a function really of contaminants within the water. You know, we don't use chlorinated water, so we are subject to microbial biofilm inside of the pipe, and that can very quickly and significantly reduce the performance of our pipelines. And this comes from unchlorinated sources such as rivers, dams, glacial flow from glacial rivers, silt from rivers and dams, loss of zinc from galvanized pipe, iron hydroxide from bores, and salt precipitation from hard water. They're all sources, and these need to be firstly identified and then managed as part of sustainable pumping. A third aspect is fittings. So this is getting back to another.
Excuse me,
yes.
Rob. You
yes.
have stopped the sharing of your screen.
We cannot see the presentation.
Oh no!
Just a few seconds before. Huh? Don't worry.
Okay. How's that? We got it back?
You're back. Thanks.
We're back. Okay. So the pipeline hydraulics also includes fittings in the pipeline. So we consider every single fitting. Each fitting has a head loss, and that needs to be considered as a life cycle component where the head loss is amortized electricity cost over 25 years. So we consider all of these common fittings in a pipeline. There's all the range of valves, flow meters. A lot of, you know, all these flow meters have head loss, and filters. I mean, you know, these are all vital components in an irrigation system. So we need to look at, well, how are they affecting sustainable pumping, and what sort of strategy can we devise whereby we can minimize those head losses or replace them with another equivalent fitting. Okay, so that's a fairly important part of looking at sustainable pumping. So here's yet another side, and this is an extension really of pipeline degradation. If the pipeline has builds up too high a head loss, we can clean it out. So this is an example of pigging of a pipeline. Okay, so that's you know, this is an unusual way of treating a pipeline. Here's yet another one. So they're examples of pigging or cleaning of pipelines which have otherwise shown a pristine, clean color of water. And when we put a foam swab through it, we find what those pipelines are not quite what we think they are. And they, you know, these particular pipes had a very low pipeline efficiency. And we can approach this scientifically with sustainable pumping by measuring the Hazen and Williams C value in a pipeline. And these are phone app calculators that we use to do that. So we do a C-value test before pigging, and then a C-value test after the pigging, and we can determine what sort of improvement we've made, and that way we have a bit of guidance as to where we're heading. Because if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. Okay, so pipeline pigging is a very important part of management. So when it comes to analysing a pumping system, and I'm talking about pump selection now. First of all, we need to determine what are our losses. So the first point is to take, this is a simple pumping system. We've got a pump station here with about 10 metres of pipeline. Then we've got a rising main here with about 1,200 metres of pipeline. So the first step in to determine sustainable pumping is to find out the sustainable pipe diameter for that, and we can use that Hydrops calculator to do that, and we'll come up with a specific diameter. Then we need to consider the pump station pipe work, and we can also look at another phone app calculator that calculates the head losses in the pump station, and then we can add the head losses from the pump station to the rising main and come up with an equivalent length of rising main, so that we're only dealing with one value. We're dealing with one length of rising main, so we can calculate then our system curves. And we can put system curves into a spreadsheet, and this spreadsheet shows 3 different system curves here. A best case system curve on the bottom, a worst case on the top, and what you call probably the mean, and that enables us to bracket the best and worst case scenarios, and enable us to pick a pump where the best efficiency point fits in between those bracket worst case and best case scenarios. And this particular piece of software that we use is just that. So having determined the system curves, best case, worst case, we import a pump, and we can manipulate that pump so we can change the pump speed. We can go 1400 RPM, and so we can determine what pump speed we might require to get the best out of that pumping system without any waste of energy. So that's a particularly useful piece of software that we can use for sustainable pumping. Of course, if we've got an existing system, we may want to go to the field and say, well, how well is this performing? So I've done just that on a number of very large fields, and these have been parts of state government agriculture department projects. And in this particular dairy farm in Victoria, I identified $20,000 worth of annual electricity savings, 68 tonnes of CO2, with a return on investment of 2.4 years. And so how did that come about? Well, the farm had a 150 PVC rising main that had a 28 metre head loss. I recommended that be upsized to 200 PVC. That reduced the water down to 1.1 metre velocity head, and a total head loss of 3 metres. And that was responsible for $10,800 annual electricity saving alone. And the pump, of course, was also down on efficiency, so replacing the pump also had its own gain of around $8,000. So if we were to look at this particular case, and this is a hydraulics chart showing the pumped head. There's a pump down here 20 metres below ground level. It was a borehole submersible. And this line here represents the hydraulic gradient of the rising main, the original, and here is the hydraulic gradient across the centre pivot. We didn't touch that, but this is the one that we were concerned with. So by replacing that pipe with a 200 diameter pipe, this became the hydraulic gradient of the replacement pipe. So in effect, we saved this much pumped head. And that much pumped head equates to $10,800 a year. And that's sustainable pumping. We also looked at the pump. Of course, when pumps are old and worn out, obviously you replace that. That's a part of maintaining sustainability. That's fairly predictable that that's going to happen. Pumps do get old and they wear out. So once again, you know, we can have a phone app calculator that's designed specifically to measure the sustainability of a pumping system. So we can go out and measure all the parameters that are required, in particular the potential head savings that we can look at, and this is just the input data for this project, this dairy farm, where we actually had a return on investment of 2.4 years and 68.2 tonnes. So that's you know, they're the answers in green there of all the data from that project put into this little phone app calculator. And we can take this phone app calculator to site and we can assess stuff right on site at the moment in real time. A very powerful tool for sustainable pumping. This is another case study. Now, you know, one of the things that strikes you as farmers' pumping systems don't look very tidy, and this one was no exception. What caught my eye here was this pump suction pipe work here, and I thought, wow. So we looked at that, and we looked at doing a test whereby we replaced this very ugly looking pump suction pipe with a nice clean taper. We did that, and this was in the conjunction with the Victorian Agriculture Department, and we had a kind of an open day, and we did some tests on site. And so we tested the head loss change from this pipe work to this pipe work. We tested the pump efficiency. We looked at the head loss through these fittings here. We looked at the head loss through that check valve. That check valve wasn't required because there's a check valve back at the foot valve. You know, that could have been a butterfly valve. It's superfluous. We looked at the head loss through the pipe, and there's the, you know, there's the once again, there's the pigging exercise that we did, and we come up with another example of sustainable pumping audit calculator. In this particular case, we identified cost savings, $7,100 a year, 16 tonnes of CO2, and a return on investment of 2.7 years. You know, these sort of irrigation systems are out there everywhere, and these are tools that we can use to identify. These are critical tools for sustainable pumping. This is where the future is heading, you know, in the irrigation industry. You know, unfortunately, this aspect is not taught in any training courses that I know of in the irrigation industry, and so it does need to be addressed. So sustainable pumping, it's about the pipelines. It's not about the pump. So we need to change the focus away from the pump to the pipelines, and that's where all the energy gains can be made from. So just a little bit about my background. I'm a mechanical engineering background. I've been 57 years. I started my career in 1968. I've never sold product, and today I remain an independent consultant. So I started out in time monitoring the energy efficiency of large pumping plant and large pipeline systems in my home state of South Australia. And that gave me the background and basis for the knowledge that I use to identify sustainable pumping today. And in the last 32 years, I've been involved in the private sector, mostly as a consultant, and mostly doing auditing and energy auditing. And in more recent years, I've got involved in teaching. And I actually taught did presentations at the Irrigation Association conferences in the United States in those years. But so teaching now is a very important part. So this sustainable pumping, that's the focus. I just want to run past this. It's a 2-minute video, and it's really well worth watching because it gets to the core of what sustainable pumping is about.
Is that normal that we no longer have any sound?
Okay, while just a few words while the video is continuing. I have put in the chat some information about what is presented here. The session on irrigation efficiency or pumping efficiency that we are planning with EIA and Rob in October. If you are interested, you can forward your coordinate to Fleur and myself with the email that are communicated in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Bruno. Look, I'll terminate that there because it essentially it's dealt with the core parameters for sustainable pumping. So if I could just continue on. So this type of information is good for all the professional engineers, irrigation company managers, designers, especially CIDs, irrigation agronomists, auditors, contractors. They would all gain from knowing this sort of information. So we've seen that. What we are planning to do is run a number of courses in Europe, and I'll leave you folk to coordinate more with Bruno and Moshi and Demir on this. But essentially, that's what I have for you tonight. Except that I want to give away now a phone app calculator. So if you would take out your mobile phones and put it on camera mode, and you can put the phone up to your screen and press and you can load that app onto your, now I'll get it so you can see it. It's so there you can see it there. So if you don't do it now, you can do it when you get a copy of this presentation. And so that's the app there. It's a suite of 9 calculators, all on your mobile phone. So when you go to site, you can calculate just about anything in the hydraulics that you need to calculate. They're very, very powerful, and there's definitely the most popular of our calculators.
Thanks for
that. That's it. That's how do I do for time, Fleur?
No, but I mean, the presentation will be sent to all the participants, and it will be available on EIA website too, so they can have the information after the forum. Yeah.
But I would also like to add that we are trying to help Rob find partners here in Europe who are willing to take part in organization of events. I'm not sure that the EIA can do it by itself. So if anybody has someone in mind who might be willing to help Rob organize, there are lots of practicalities about organizing a training event. So if anybody has any idea of someone who might be interested in partnering up with Rob in organizing an event at a specific place in Europe, please come out and contact Moshi.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, but we have to move to the next, the latest part of the forum. Because Jonathan has to leave at 3:30, you know, so it will be very short.
So we'll continue this discussion later on because I have a few comments later on. So let's take the carbon session and then we take it.
And after we can have a discussion about.
We're going to thank you, Robert, later on. Stay with us.
Thank you.
So, Jonathan, are you here?
I'm here. Thank you very much, Fleur. Thank you, Moshe. So I'm Jonathan. I work for Revolis, that I guess you all know. I'm originally French. I'm based in Israel, and I lead our Revolis Climate business, which is our let's say carbon credit business. And this is what I'm going to talk today about, to explain a bit more how this market works, and to discuss maybe how this could be an opportunity for the industry. So let me share my screen. And because I have to, I have a hard stop in 20 minutes, so don't wait for the end to ask questions. If you have questions, just stop me, and let's go for question on the go. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So I will start with one question, and feel free to answer or to raise your hands. Who thinks that the global efforts against climate change create a burden on farmers? There's a lot of talk about climate change. Yeah, I see. Yeah, okay, Axel, I agree. It's a lot of the things that come back to us when we go talk climate change with farmers is the burden that it creates, the reporting burden, the practice burden, sometimes also the ecological environmental burden, in the sense that there is more drought or there is more extreme events. And so this climate change is creating a burden. And what I want to talk about today is, can this be an opportunity? Okay, I want to see it from another perspective, which is the opportunity perspective. And I'm really talking here about a business opportunity for the farmers and for us as an industry. So let's start with the facts. Okay, so first, I think I won't have to spend much time, but there is more and more CO2 in the atmosphere. And as you all know, this creates a global warming. I think this is no news for anyone. There is more and more warm years and warmer years year after year. And I think this ends up in now a very big or global momentum with its ups and downs with the political elections that sometimes goes left or right. But overall, if you, let's say, take a step back and you don't look at one specific election, you can say that over the decades or over the long term, there is a big effort being made to reverse climate change. Okay? And this doesn't depend on who is elected in the US or in Europe or anywhere else. There is this long-term trend that humanity is trying to fight against climate change. And part of that is, what is the corporate sector or the private sector doing? Okay? And the biggest movement that was in the last few years is what we call net zero. So I guess most of you has already have heard this concept of net zero. And what is interesting is to see that this net zero commitment has skyrocketed in the last 5 years. If you take in 2019, out of the 2,000 largest public companies in the world, 4% of companies had committed to net zero. Today, it's more than 60%. Okay, so most of the biggest company in the world now have a commitment to net zero. And so what does that mean? So I went to ChatGPT because I like the trendy technological stuff. So I asked, how can a company reach net zero? And let's be succinct and short. So first, a company to reach net zero, first, the company will have to reduce their emissions. If you're Revolis or another irrigation company, you have to go to your factory to change the way your factory operate, to upgrade your systems, to give, I don't know, like electric cars to your salespeople, and try to see how you can internally reduce your own emissions. The second thing is that you can improve your supply chain, meaning you can select different suppliers, right? If you're like, for instance, if you're PepsiCo, you can go to a farmer that grow potatoes that have less emission than a farmer that another farmer that have more emission, right? Putting more fertilizer, for instance, or less sustainable pumping to connect with the previous presentation. The third thing that you can do is that you can recycle, you can minimize waste, etc. You can improve your circular economy. But even if you do those three first things, right, 1, 2, and 3, you will never reach to net zero. Net zero meaning I have a theoretical zero emissions in my business, meaning all my business doesn't pollute at all. And you can improve as much as you want the moment you have a factory pushing irrigation pipe in an extrusion machine. Even if you're like the most advanced system in the world, you will still pollute. And so if you want to reach net zero, you will have to offset those residual emissions. And the way to offset those emissions is through what we call the voluntary carbon market or carbon credits. Voluntary because those companies, they're not, it's not mandatory to them to do that. They're not obliged to do that, but they can go into this market and say, I'm going to buy carbon credits and I'm going to offset my residual emission so that I reach this theoretical zero, this net zero, okay? And as you can see, there was no one committed to net zero 5 years ago. Now most people are committed to net zero, meaning in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, they will have to find solutions to buy carbon credits, and the market of carbon credit will go up. And so this market was a $2 billion market in 2022. It's already expected to be a $50 billion market in 2030. I mean, these are like, let's say, bankers' estimates. I would not sell my soul of those estimates, but I think the idea is to say it will grow and it will grow fast. Okay, why? Because there are more and more companies that are just like committing to net zero. And so the question is, can this be an opportunity for agriculture? Okay. So let's go back to some more facts, because agriculture is the perfect candidate for this market because it's a very big polluter. About 20% of global emissions come from what we call AFOLU, agriculture and forestry mostly. Okay, and this means that this can be reduced, right? There is a baseline that is very high that we can improve. So here we can improve, reduce emissions, less tractors, less fertilizers, less pumping, less cows, whatever. Improve the way agriculture works so that we reduce emission. But on top of that, agriculture can also capture emission, meaning can vacuum the atmosphere, right? Like suck the CO2 from the atmosphere and put it in the biomass, in the soil or in the trees, right? And so agriculture could potentially only in soil compensate about 15% of global emissions. So actually agriculture by itself could almost be net zero, right? If you think about it. So you can reduce emissions and you can remove carbon with agriculture. How do you do that? You can have more sustainable irrigation, pumping, as it was just said before, improve fertilization. If you put less nitrogen fertilizer in the soil, you can reduce the tillage, incorporate residues in soil, implement cover crops, doing agroforestry. All those practices, which are usually gathered into a generic term that is called regenerative agriculture, right, will help reduce emissions and remove carbon. Okay, and the question I want to ask you is like, do you know any other human activity besides agriculture that can do both, right, at scale, both reduce emission and capture carbon? Usually most things, most industries, they can reduce their emission, but they cannot capture carbon. If you're like an airline company, you can reduce your emission by buying more modern planes, using sustainable fuel, but your planes will never capture carbon, right? Agriculture is maybe the only human activity at scale that can do emission reduction and carbon capture. while still feeding the whole the world population, right? Let's not forget like the main objective of agriculture. And so the voluntary carbon market should be a major opportunity for agriculture. And as very often with agriculture, it's missed opportunity. Because if you look at carbon credits, less than 1% of carbon credits so far in the world came from agriculture. Okay? So you have on the one hand, a very nice opportunity. On the other hand, agriculture, which is the perfect candidate to benefit from this opportunity, and in the middle, a complete mismatch. Okay. And so the question I want to deal with today is why so much potential and so little outcome? And to answer this question, I need you to understand, and I need to explain a bit how the market works. So this voluntary carbon market. So first, it's led by the buyers, right? The buyers are those companies that are committing to net zero. I won't come back on that. Like these are like the Google, Microsoft, Amazon. But as I said, most companies now in the world are committing to net zero, and they want to reduce their emissions. On the other side, you will have project developers, which are, let's say, integrators that will work with farmers and that will be able to gather farmers together to create a project that will reduce emission and capture carbon. This impact will be measured in what we call ton of CO2 equivalent. So for each ton of CO2 that will be saved, we will have 1 carbon credit, and then there can be a transfer from the project developer to the buyers. So the buyer will give money to the project developer, and in exchange, the project developer will give them rights for reduction of ton of CO2 equivalent. Okay, this is the business, right? You change something in agriculture, you measure it in ton of CO2, and each ton is a carbon credit that is like a piece of paper, a certificate that you can sell at a defined price to a company that want to reach net zero, or want to offset their own emissions. Now, because here you basically trading air, right? And when you're trading financial product, it's already very difficult. But imagine when you trade air, it's even more difficult. There can be people cheating. There can be like discrepancies in the calculation, because it is really not easy to count and to measure carbon and to measure carbon dioxide. And so what you have in the middle of this market is what we call carbon registries. The 2 biggest carbon registries in the world, they are Verra, it's about 60% of the carbon credits in the world, and Gold Standard, about 20%. And you have another 20%, right? The remaining 20% are like sometimes like national registries. In France, for instance, you have the Label Bas Carbone for the French people here. In Spain, you have like a registry for forestry, and you have like some more niche registries. But let's just focus on the biggest one and the international ones, which are Verra and Gold Standard. Those organizations are like non-profit, not-for-profit organization. For instance, I think Verra is affiliated to the World Economic Forum, and they set the rules of this market. They will tell you what are the accounting rules that you need to follow. These are called methodologies. So you have, how do you count carbon in an agricultural project? You will have to follow, let's say, Verra methodology for agriculture. And they will tell you what you can account for, what you cannot account for, what are the scientific equations you have to use, what are the scientific models you need to use, how do you validate those, etc., etc. So accounting rules, it's a bit, for the finance people here, IFRS or US GAAP, right, of carbon. And on the other hand, they will also set up a process. It's an auditing process. They will tell you, okay, so now if you want to get a carbon credit, you have to follow a due process, which is like you have to write the documentation, you have to bring a third-party auditor, you have to verify your measurements, etc., until we can issue for you a carbon credit. Okay, so these are what those guys do. Now, if I dig down a bit deeper here on the side of what a project developer do to get those carbon credits, so they need to create a project. Obviously, that will be a change between a baseline scenario and a project scenario. So you take a farmer, conventional farmer, and you see, okay, you measure what he was doing before, right? For let's say the last 3 years at least, and then you will change the way he farms with the practices I mentioned a bit earlier, and you will measure what is the difference in terms of greenhouse gases emissions, in terms of soil organic carbon, how much soil organic matter he adds in the soil, and if he adds woody biomass, if he plants trees compared to what he had before. And you measure the difference between the baseline scenario and the project scenario, and then a more simplistic, it's a simplify a bit, but in a sense, the delta for all those three between baseline and project will be the number of carbon credit that you get. Okay. So this is for the what the project developer needs to do, and then you have to go through this due process that I mentioned. I won't get into this today, but there is like let's say, very complex process of validation, of registration, of verification of those projects until you can get the carbon credit. It is costly, it is complex, it is really not farmer friendly, and it is very hard to go through. Just to give you an idea, today there are about 150 projects that were listed with Verra. So Verra being the largest carbon registry in the world. So we're talking about 150 projects that started the process. There are only 29 that passed the second step, meaning the validated project. Actually, we have 2 of them at Rivulis. There is only 2 that passed the third step, including one that was registered 2 weeks ago, so really, really recent. And there is only 1 that got carbon credit. So in the whole world, when I was talking about the 1% carbon credit came from agriculture, with this process, there is only 1 project out of 153 that managed to go up to the finish, like through the finish line, and get the carbon credit to sell. And this only happened last week, right? So it's really, really recent news, right? And so we're talking about a process that for now, theoretically or practically no one has managed to go through, okay? And including us at Rivulis, we have about 6 projects that are listed, 2 that are validated and are undergoing registration now. So 2 out of, let's say, the 29 validated projects in the world. So just to summarize about this process, it's a new process, it's a long process, it's a costly process, and it's very uncertain. There is no guarantee for success. As you can see, almost no one managed to get to the end. And so if I have to answer the question that I put earlier, why so much potential and so little outcome? It's because the market opportunity is not accessible, especially to farmers. If I come back to my conclusion here about the process, new process, long process, costly process, uncertain process, no farmer will engage on that, right? No farmer will put dozens of thousands of dollars up front. It's something that is so unclear, where the outcome is not guaranteed, and that is so far away from their day-to-day life. And so this is why agriculture is less than 1% of carbon credit in the world, because the market is not accessible. And so that's a pity, because carbon credit project could help build stronger ecosystems, right? We could be, as industry leader, the integrators or those project developers. We can connect with startup and universities to support scientific claims and to create technological solutions to simplify this process. We could partner with cooperatives and distributors so that we go with them to the farmer, to group of farmers, and then we can end up with working with many, many different farmers. And for instance, one challenge that Rivulis has as a company is to go to talk directly to farmers, to know the farmer that use our product. With this project, even when we work through a dealer or a distributor, this is how we get to the farmers. All the farmers that work with us, they know us personally and we know them personally, because we have to collect much, much more information than just what is their irrigation system. And so we know them very well. And when they want to grow, they come to us and they buy from us their irrigation system, because it's a much broader value proposition that we're bringing them than just bringing the micro irrigation or the drip tape in the field. Okay, and this is why we created Rivulis Climate, right? I was saying that the market is not accessible to the farmer. We created Rivulis Climate to give access to this market, to support the adoption of sustainable farming practices. We give them access. In exchange, we will push sustainable farming practices. Very quickly, what we do, we give them agronomic support, what they can do. We have a lot of discussions up front before we start the project with them. We have a lot of this discussion with them to identify the right projects and the right practices for them, right? Each farmer, each country, each crop is very different. And so we need to have those discussions to say, okay, how much residue can you leave in the field? Which cover crop can you plant? Which months, based on your crop cycle, can you add a second crop? what kind of fertilizer are you currently using, and do you have option to put organic fertilizer instead of synthetic fertilizer? So there is a very heavy agronomic discussion that we're having with farmers. I have agronomic people in my team that are leading those discussions, agronomists that are leading those discussions, and help design the project. The second thing that we do is we take care of the whole registration process. So this process that is such a burden for a farmer, you will not have to cope with it. Okay, we cope with it and we pay for it. And then if we manage one day to get the carbon credits, we'll sell them, we'll pay back the farmer, and this is the value for them. And now, just because I get close to the finish line, I've been a bit fast. I think it's good also to illustrate what we're doing with very clear pictures, so that you understand what I'm talking about and what kind of agriculture I'm talking about. On the left here is a typical avocado plantation, very conventional. I took it from the main agriculture website of Israel. On the right hand side is one of our project is around avocado in Israel, and you see the kind of plantation that we're developing. You have here the avocado line in the middle. You have all the residue management you see on the ground. You have wheat planted between the line, so intercrops we call that. And so the idea is to say the fields need to live. They need to live. They need to have a lot of vegetation. There needs to be a lot of photosynthesis. They need a lot of organic amendments, so that it's always creating organic matter and capturing carbon in the soil. This is the kind of agriculture that we're doing. Another example for actually last month, I was in Italy. Here you see a field that is working with us, and the neighbor field that is not working with us. Here the idea is to say, okay, let's not till. We don't till over the winter, and we let spontaneous cover crop grow. So you don't see it very well in the picture maybe, but here's it's all covered with green, the right field, whereas the left field is completely open and plugged and tilled and is not living for the whole winter. The idea is, okay, this field, even if you don't grow a crop during the winter, let it alive, so there is photosynthesis, carbon capture, and organic life in this and life in this field, creating organic matter. Okay, maybe a last one. It's another example, even maybe more telling. Again, another farmer from Italy that is working with us. You see here our field and the neighbor field. Our field is covered with, I think it was a mustard cover crop all winter. Instead of having like his neighbor, like he used to have an open field, only earth and soil. Here, all winter, we'll grow this cover crop, incorporate this at the end of the season, and before you start the corn season, he will just incorporate it and plant his corn. So this is the kind of farming that we're doing. You see, this is more avocados. This is carob trees. This is also some field in Italy where they left the corn residues. So you see, each farmer is kind of a bit different, but there is a main line to say, okay, we need more life in the field, because more life is more carbon is more carbon credit, healthier soils, healthier agriculture. And so at the end of the day, more resilient farms and a potential financial upside for the farmer and for us as an industry. Yeah, that's and that's it. And we have this is I also wanted to share a bit my team. I'm not a technical guy. I have an MBA and business things, but the rest in my team are much smarter. They're I have a doctor in geochemistry and a senior agronomist, soil scientist. So we're very hands-on. We go to the field, we take soil samples, we learn how to do it, and then when we tell people to do it for us in other countries, we know what to tell them. We work with technological solutions. We work a lot with QGIS. We have soil models. So there is a lot of scientific work that is behind all this work that I didn't want to detail today, because it may be a bit less sexy, and there's a lot of coding and graphs and charts. And I think you had enough today, and it's already late on Friday. But so that you know, there is a lot of scientific work behind this to get the measurements right. And so this is a big part of our job. But I think the key message here is to say there is a very big opportunity for farming. It is not accessible for the farmers, and as an industry, we could make it accessible and we could both benefit from it, the farmer and the industry. There you go. If you have any question, I'm always available. You can reach out either to the Rivulis guys in Europe or directly to me, and I'm always happy to take questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I guess that you need to leave, right? So you don't have the time for.
I can
this
have
exchange.
like 5 minutes if you want.
5 minutes, that's more than we need. But yeah, because there were many questions on the chat. First of all, thank you very much. This is really exciting to hear what you're doing, and I think that the one of the major questions, like the main questions that we're facing as a sector, with all kind of technologies, but specifically we know drip irrigation, both of us and some others here, is that how to measure, how to quantify, like how to evaluate what is the water economy that you can create. Well, how to evaluate the fertilization saving under the micro irrigation, for example, if you compare it to others. And because it's not only about accessible, I completely agree with you on the access, but it's about how to quantify and how to measure this. That's a tricky one. So what can you say about this?
Yes. So actually, it's what I was saying at the end. Most of what my team is doing is quantification. And so you mentioned drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is a very small part of my project. So I will go one by one. The first impact that I can have is actually on irrigation. Let's say you move from a pivot or rain gun to a drip system. Here you will save you will pump less water at less pressure, so you will use less energy, and so you have to account for this energy saving. A bit what Rob was explaining before for pumping. You can use it similarly for the broader irrigation system. So here you need to collect the data from the farmer in terms of how many liters of diesel or how many kilowatt hour used per year or per season before and after the project. And there are some scientific equations to convert this energy consumption into CO2 emissions. Okay, so that's for energy. The second thing that you can save is fertilizers. The idea here is to reduce the amount of synthetic nitrogen that is being put into the field, because every time you put nitrogen in the field, there is a reaction that creates nitrous oxide, and nitrous oxide is a very powerful greenhouse gas. And then you can convert this nitrous oxide emission into what we call CO2 equivalent. So there is kind of like a key to convert any greenhouse gas into CO2. And so here, the way you would calculate it is you need to have the exact amount of fertilizer that is being used by the farmer with nitrogen content, etc., before and after. And again, here you have a scientific equation to convert this nitrogen application into nitrous oxide emission and then CO2 emission. These are the two, let's say, easier calculation or quantification exercise that we're making. The third one that is much more difficult is to measure soil organic carbon. And soil organic carbon is the amount of carbon that there is in the soil. Here, it's going to be a mix of, let's say, I would call it intelligent soil sampling. You have to do soil sampling in an intelligent way so that you have a good representation of your field. And it means that you need to find the right compromise between the number of samples and the cost of sampling. And we couple that with soil models. So there are like scientific soil model that, based on some inputs that we will run into the model, that will give us a change in soil organic carbon. So here is a more complex way of quantifying. You have to couple soil samples and soil model. And the last thing that we quantify are trees. And trees is also a big scientific challenge. And here, usually it's based out of what we call allometric equations, where you have to take measurements of the trees, let's say like some diameters, some volume measurements of the trees, again, with some intelligent sampling in the field, and convert that with scientific equation that convert usually those measurements into carbon content. Here again, there's a lot of scientific work that is being done behind to validate those equations. So we do like experiments in the field. We cut trees, we burn them, and we dry them, etc., etc. So it really depends on the. So you have direct measurement for energy and fertilizer. You have sampling and modeling for soil, and you have sampling, measurement, and allometric equation for trees.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think that Bruno, you had a good question here. Yeah, go ahead.
I have two questions. One which may be short in answer. You say that there is about 10 gigaton of emission from agriculture, about 8 gigaton of capture. And what could be the extra capture if all farming system were converted to regenerative agriculture? This is my first question.
So this is the 8. This would be the 8.
This is 8. Okay.
So if everything were to convert to regenerative agriculture, this is the potential of agriculture to capture.
Yeah. And my second question: did you think about the possibility to apply the methodology to urban landscapes?
I didn't look much into it, but there would be a question. So first, the methodology is not applicable to urban landscape today. So what I said at the beginning is that there are very clear and very strict rules about the accounting of carbon in those projects. And so I work with a methodology that is called VM0042, improved land management in agriculture, something like improved agricultural land management. And so it's only for agriculture. Now, it will be a problem in urban landscape because you need a lot of scale. Okay, in agriculture, you can get to drip irrigation is a bit harder, but let's say you go to extensive crops, you can get to 1 million hectares. With urban landscape, you're playing with very, very like small areas, this little park, these little trees, and so this is not very significant.
So you have to prepare a typology and then apply the typology to the different area. Okay, and one comment. This will probably oblige the users to sacrifice, with commas, part of their water to support the accessory crop instead of the productive crop. Did you have the opportunity to measure this or to evaluate it?
The cover crops, you mean? Let's say So first, in most of our projects, we actually we convert pivot or rain gun to drip. So usually we free water resources because they use less water. For the cover crop, it's a good question. So we're having this is the kind of agronomic discussion that we have with farmers. In many cases, we do winter cover crops, which means that they are rain fed. So this is not very a problem. There's no real irrigation on those. There's no irrigation on those cover crops, and so it doesn't make any change in terms of water usage. They may be, for instance, in countries like Israel or in the Mediterranean basin, where it's like a more arid countries, where they could do intercrops if they do orchards or summer cover crops. Where here there is a discussion with them based on the water availability and irrigation availability. Obviously, the farmer is also very cautious with irrigation because it costs him money, right? So he will not put money for cover crop plus irrigate them just to enrich the soil organic matter. So there is here discussions to have based on feasibility. In most of our projects, it's actually the opposite. We free up water resources.
Okay, thanks.
If I can perhaps add to what you said, Jonathan, because we have also around the call some of our pivot and hose reel, I would say, friends, because our association is also not only micro irrigation. The big worldwide potential is to change the practices from flooded fields, where you use huge energy pumping water, plenty of water. You have organic decomposition also once the field is flooded, especially for rice. So I would say that the huge saving, both in energy and carbon emission, with methane emission, comes also from the flooding. Not necessarily, I would say, this is an area in which micro irrigation will gain on the edge some little projects here and there against pivot and laterals, a little bit more against hose reels, but the big is flooding.
And actually, micro irrigation is very small in the carbon credit potential of our project. Most come from the soil. It's a soil capture what matters the most. So cover crops, reducing tillage, incorporating residues. And this is true for any kind of irrigation provider, right? You can keep a pivot and still better take care of the soil. Okay, I really have to go. So if maybe there are like more questions, I'm happy to take them offline to reconnect with everyone.
Yeah, I had one comment which is related to the previous. If we have a cover crop, it will support the infiltration and thus entering the water balance, and that could be really of interest to convince farmers that the use of cover crops is not only an extra consumption of water, but also a capacity to increase the oasis effect that we get from the regenerative.
I didn't have much time to talk about it, but a lot of those practices, the primary goal is not to create carbon credits. The primary goal is to make soil healthier so they're more resilient. And I'll give you like our biggest project is in Italy. It's about 3,500 hectares in Italy. And last year they had like a lot of excess rain in northern Italy. It was like terrible. Like the yields decreased in the region by like 40-50% in tomato and corn. And in our farmers, actually, the yields usually decrease less than the average of the region because their fields are more resilient to excess water. So it holds better the water, it absorbs better the water. So the field is much healthier, and this makes it more resilient to extreme weather events. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.
Good. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thanks, Mr.
Thank you, Jonathan. Really interesting.
Bye.
Right. Whoa. That was very interesting. Thank you for inviting Jonathan for this session. If there are more questions that will come, please use the chat or just contact us directly or contact the association or the website. We'll be more than happy to post the questions and to the relevant stakeholders, I would say, that are dealing with this. So thank you very much. Thanks, Thierry, for presenting together. And coming back to Robert, right? Just to conclude the session of before. So we didn't get the chance to thank you, and the second to open it for questions or comments. If there are any questions or anything that we'd like to add to the session, okay. So this is the right moment. From my side, I do have a few comments. So if no one is taking the lead, so I'm gonna fill in. Okay, can you hear me, Robert? We cannot hear you. You're on mute.
Hello.
You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Now we're good. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Just a quick acknowledgement from my side on. Because I was quite surprised with this, but it means that I'm not really professional on this on the matter of the aspects of the integration between the pumping, the cross impact of the things that we are the way we design the system. And I keep on thinking about this sustainability position paper that we've published. I don't know if you know about it, if you've been I'm not sure if you've been part of it. I was before you joined us. So I think that it will be very helpful for you and for the association to join forces on around the indicators and the technical criteria around the taxonomy, the sustainability, the sustainable agriculture, which we're promoting. Because as we define the irrigation as an activity, an economical activity, it starts with pumping, and pumping is part of the irrigation as we recommend this to be considered. And the consideration of how to optimization of the pumping with the aspects of the cross impact and the aspect of the different components and how it impacts and the way that you can measure it. I think this will add a lot of value to the continuation of the discussion on how to quantify the place of the irrigation as a contributor to the taxonomy. So I think that this is one place, because you came from the training aspect, as I said, like also with the comment of Damir, and then it just opened the discussion. It's not only about the training, which is essential and is part of what we're trying to do, as well as to pass the knowledge transfer and the education and the training and so on. And there are also tools, and there are also places. There is room for teaching, but not only the end user, not only the users of the systems, but also the decision makers, and to put it on also in the aspect of the taxonomy. So this was my comment actually on this one. So great job, thank you very much for this.
If I can just add to Moshe, in this what you're saying, Moshe, the critical thing is to find proper partners for Bob in Europe. I mean, even to join the process of improving the definitions in taxonomy and getting more detailed into measurements and providing values for the taxonomy process. You need people in Europe who would be capable of acquiring that level of understanding and knowledge, and then working with the EIA. I'm not sure that we can, as an association, only rely on Bob. And at the same time, Bob is trying to find the way to organize training. And as a member of the EIA, as an irrigation professional, I would also like to have the chance to attend Bob's training course. No matter how much it costs or where it is in Europe. But the problem at this moment, the critical thing is to really bring Bob to Europe and make this available for more people in Europe to join the training and then work from there. So this is the way I see it. And Bob, correct me there, but I think we can only achieve so much in working with you in long distance. I think we need more partners capable of getting their pump sustainability knowledge closer to that level, and then we can move on as an association. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Damir. Can I just reflect on some of the experiences I've had here from Australia? The real momentum for this training activity that I now specialise in commenced 15 years ago, or actually 10 years ago, 2015, when a company in New Zealand called me and said, "Look, would you like to come to New Zealand and train my clients?" And so I said yes, and that was really the beginning of this training course. Now that company was a major xylem distributor, and was probably the biggest irrigation pump distributor in New Zealand. I've been, other than COVID, I've been back every year, and through that group, we've trained 140 people with this training course. So you can see with this model that particular company gained hugely by upskilling its clients to understand the needs and shortfalls of pumping systems, so that they can be better equipped to communicate with their clients and sell systems that actually are going to work. So there is a huge benefit for any company that we would collaborate with, because their potential gains to bring people in the door that, number one, they may have not seen, and secondly, they become clients and they go out fully empowered and knowledgeable, and they become regular clients of that particular organization. Now, I don't have a part in that. All I do is rock up and present the course. So you can see the value in having a partner is not for me necessarily, it's for the partner. The partner gains because they get to bring people to this course. They become incredibly empowered with the training that we give them, unlike any training course that I've ever been to, and I continually get this feedback. So there's we do that with Grundfos in Australia. I asked Grundfos, would you like to sponsor the course? Absolutely. They were on the phone like that. Yeah, when can we do it next? So they're reaching out to sponsor this course because they know the value that it brings the organization, and it's all for the good of the industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I hope that in view of the potential and the importance of the topic, I hope that we managed to contribute a little bit, opening the communication and giving you the floor to presenting it. So thank you very much for this, Robert. We came to the end of today's forum. So while I will thank the participant and the people who organized this. We still have time for comments or questions if anyone would like to add anything with open mic. And if not, I'll give you a few seconds. But I say that there is no action. So just a quick thank you. First of all, to Bruno and Domir this time for picking up these topics, the two topics which were extremely interesting for most of you. I really hope so. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Jonathan. We're not here anymore, but thank you for taking the time and so late. Also, to promote to share with us your experience and knowledge. I do believe that the presentation will be soon available on our website. Thank you very much, Fleur, for preparing this event.
Thank you, Fleur.
Thank you, Jean-Maurice. Tu es là toujours. Excellent weekend soon. Warm and excellent weekend. Thank you very much, everyone. The forum is closed.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Fleur et Bruno.
We switch. We switch or we stay on the
we can
same
stay
channel?
Here.
Okay.
Okay. On reste là. Ouais. Je pense que ce sera plus
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ouais. Thank you very much. Bye, Ido.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Jean-Maurice. Thank you, Robert, for this. We're gonna stay here on a French session now. So
this is what happens after all my training course. People just sit around and they want to talk, because the subject is so engrossing. So I'm happy.